Okay, so the first lesson is in formatting. And the reason why that is because, like in life, when it comes to data, the attractive presentation of it becomes more persuasive and convincing. So basically, if you have an ugly table, it probably won't get looked at. And it probably won't get laid. Oh God. Okay, anyways, moving on. So here we have, this is just a list of things that we're going to talk about in this video. So if you already know these, please skip on, but I urge you to just take a look anyways instead. And it's also for me because Mama's memory isn't so good. Okay, so let's say that we have this table that we have been given, a list of names and grades. Here we can see the names and grades, and you see it's kind of condensed and ugly. So for the most basic people, not for the most basic people, for the people with the most basic Excel skills, what you can do, obviously you can click and move the width of the column to show us more information. However, sometimes that's not enough. So here we have name, and let's say that we want to actually make two columns. Let's say that we wanted, because in these rows we have both first and last name. Now sometimes it looks prettier if we have a column with first name and a column with last name, and we can do that. So the first lesson is doing something called text to columns, and this parses out the data and puts it into different columns. So let's make a new column by clicking here, right click, and you say insert column. So here we will have last name, and this will be first name. First name. So what we do is we highlight our data that we want to select. Shift click. And then we go to this data tab here and go to text to columns. Now we choose delimited because, as we see in these names, there's spaces that break up the first name and the last name. So we click on delimited, we go to next, and we click, make sure that this space is clicked, and we see the data preview. Oh, look, see, two different columns, one column, two columns, fancy. Next and finish. Hooray! We have it. But the table is still ugly. Okay, so let's actually save colors for later, and let's go with this white blanket right now. So sometimes, sorry, this is gonna get a little bit out of order, but that's okay. So sometimes when we have tables in Excel, we still have this the grid, this gray grid, and for making nice tables, it's nice to get rid of that grid. So what we can do is actually get rid of it by clicking this. So here, you know that in Excel, if you click, C, B, you highlight the whole column. If you click, 3, 4, you highlight the whole row. If you click this, you highlight everything, obviously. So what we can do is we can go to Home, and we can click on Fill Color, and we can make it white. And there goes the grid. Hooray. So this white blanket is done. Next, alignment can be really helpful. Let's talk about alignment. So obviously when we are making our table more pretty, it helps to have things that are centered. It just looks better. So what we can do is we can highlight all our information, and of course we center it with alignment under Home. Yeah. So you see what happened here. You see that the satisfaction with teachers and completed internship are kind of jumbled, or you can't read it. So we can do either of two things. We can increase the width, right, so we can read it, But lots of times that looks kind of ugly and spaced out, right? So what we can actually do is we can do something called text wrapping. So basically what we do is highlight everything in this row, and we go to alignment and we say wrap text. So this will combine long pieces of text into the column, and it will increase the size of the row. There we go. Now, so here we still have, you know, the list of name and grades kind of floating over here. It's nice to have one big, you know, overarching header for the table. So what we can do is we can merge and center this, so it creates one cell for this and centers it. That looks pretty, doesn't it? And let's make it bold. Next, borders can be very helpful. So this still looks a bit kind of ugly, and what we can do is just create one border on the bottom that will kind of clean up the variable name and the data. So our borders, we go to font here under home, and let's click the bottom border. Great, that is looking even better. Now we can clean our columns up. Sometimes it's actually quite nice to have the same column width. That makes things look more professional. So for example, for this, we might take the column width and apply it to the others. And that looks maybe, yeah, that looks okay. That looks okay. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's a little bit wide. Anyways, okay, so borders. Okay, now when it comes to colors, typically when it comes to APA, there are no colors. So it is just black and white. I should yeah, let you guys know. It's also more professional sometimes to just leave things as black and white. So, you know, sometimes people will highlight the differences or the different rows, and so they'll, you know, kind of make it like look like this, and then like this, and I hope you know what I mean. But in APA, this is not allowed. For APA tables and APA formatting, it is only black and white. So just as a tip for later. Okay, I'm just gonna shift these columns and make them a little bit smaller because this is bugging me. So let's column width 1157, and let's just apply it to these ones, because if we do it to last name, then we'll cut off the bigger last names. Okay, that looks okay. Yeah. Maybe we can move the height up and down. Yeah, that's better. So another fun thing that we can do, although colors are not useful in APA, they can be really useful when we are looking at our data, when we are trying to sort and figure out our data and just have a visual of it. So there's something that we can do called conditional formatting. And basically what this means is it looks at a value of a cell, and then it assigns the color of the cell based on the value of the cell. So for example, let's say we have grade, and we want to just be able to quickly look and see who has passed and who hasn't passed. So we can go to this home, and we can go to conditional formatting, and here we'll have a whole bunch of different options. So this is, you know, the cell. So the cell, if it's, you know, greater than a certain value, less than, etc. We can have different scales, etc. Icons. I like to just go into manage rules and create a rule. So play around with this because it's really fun and it can be really helpful. But what I'll show you is just something pretty basic. So So we have a bunch of different options when it comes to new formatting rule. So format all cells based on their values, cells that only contain. However, what we want is just the cell values that contain that are looking at something, a number between another number. So let's highlight. Yeah, come on. Let's highlight all of our cells that we want to apply our formatting to, and then click back on conditional formatting, new rule, and so we choose the format only cells that contain this rule. And because our value is a grade, it's not a blank or an error or a specific text, it's a value. And let's look at people that failed, and they have a score of less than 5.5. And so then we'll format the cell to look like, well, we can change the border if we want, the font if we want. I think we should just focus on the fill. And unfortunately, let's say those that failed will be marked as red, and those that, okay, let's make a new rule. And those that passed, so greater than, where are you? Greater than 5.5 will be listed as green. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So that's kind of nice, right? We have a easy visual of who has passed and failed this course. And let's say that let's say that Cecilia actually did not get an 8, but she got a 5. The conditional formatting already updates it. Isn't that neat? So let's say Ronaldo actually passed. Yeah, see? It changes as you go. Isn't it remarkable? It is. Now let's say that we want to take this table, even though there's colors and APA, this is not looking professional, but let's just go with it. What we can do is we can obviously paste this table into a document. But lots of times when we paste tables from Excel into Word, they look kind of ugly, really ugly. So let's paste this into Word. Let's just copy and paste it, and you see it comes up with like basically the structure of it, the like the grid, and sometimes you need this in a document because you need to change the width of columns, but many times you don't. If you have a perfect table that looks gorgeous in Excel and you want to transfer it to Word or PowerPoint or something else, what you can do is, so when you highlight it, you can copy it, right? Control C, and what you can do is you can right click in Word or PowerPoint and say paste as a photo, and this option really kind of like elevates your professionalism. So if you are in a communications role and you need to put a table into a document, please consider paste as picture if you don't know about it already, because it just, oh, see, it's just like see that. So also too, you get into formatting things. So here the name is just too long, and so what it does is it kind of wrapped the text. So now that one of the rows is twice as big as all the other rows, but in here, if you paste a picture, you don't get that problem. Anyways, the future, it's so useful. Okay, now that we've done this, we are going to head into the territory of formulas. And formulas can be so fun and so useful. So instead of getting a visual aid of whether or not somebody has passed or failed, you can create formulas to also tell you this quickly. So one of them that I like to use is if. So really, to create any formula, all you have to do is click on a cell and put in the equal sign, and then type in whatever formula you're going to use. So in this case, it will be if. So we'll double click, and then we're going to be doing a test on grade. and we're going to be seeing if it's greater than 5.5. So we put, that's our test, is cell I8 greater than 5.5, comma, and be careful because if you are using a Dutch version or a German version of Excel, it will be semicolon. But because I'm using a North American version, it is comma. So comma, the value, if it is true, let's say it will give us the text pass. So in quotations, pass. And if it's not, if the cell is not above 5.5, comma, quotation mark, fail, quotation mark. Maybe it just needs more academic love. Okay. So, yes, this person has passed. Now, so we have our formula, and we don't have to, as you're probably aware, we don't have to type in this formula for every single cell that we do. We can either, what we can do is we can either click and drag it. See this little green box here? We can click and drag it, or we can double click it. And when we double click it, Excel will sense all the data in all the different, like in all the other rows, and will auto-complete. So we can just double click, and there we go. So they got a 3, they need more academic love. So this is just a quick basic introduction to formulas, which we will now jump into in the next video. So thank you for your attention. How do I stop this?